All right, welcome to episode 20 of We All Speak in Poems. Today we're sitting down with Eli Goldberg, an ambient composer who releases music as Annie and recently put out his new album By Morning. In this episode, we're chatting about how he records music, how he makes ambient music with acoustic instruments, his new band, and much more. So we hope you enjoy it.
I guess we'll start with your new album, your most recent one, By Morning.
Yeah, it just came out a couple months ago. How's that been?
It's been great. It was the first album I released in at least 2 years, I think. 2019 was the last time I released a full-length album. So it definitely felt good to get something out. Yeah, it's been nice. I had a little break of recording after releasing it, but have been back to doing stuff. And yeah, was kind of able to go in a direction that I wasn't really expecting with the album, which is kind of fun to continue to explore as well moving forward.
For sure, yeah. I mean, especially in the new album, like it's going so much into like the acoustic instruments, piano and acoustic guitar, and I feel like you've been really going in that direction lately. When did that sort of come about? Because Wander Into was so electronic, right?
Yeah.
Purely modular.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Wander Into kind of was the beginning of it, because I have those couple tracks that start with acoustic instruments, and then they kind of still get taken over by a lot of electronic stuff. But I definitely wanted to go back to that and kind of focus on the acoustic element of it a little more, and kind of expand on the idea that I started in Wander Into.
For sure, yeah, and like I really love the tracks In Evenings and what's the other one? The second last track. Oh, sorry, Hazel Creek and In Evenings. They're so piano based. Mm-hmm. And I was wondering, the recording process of those, was it mostly did you compose it really heavily, or was it improvisation mostly?
I think those were both pretty improvisational. I think especially In Evenings kind of falls apart into kind of a weird tempo-less thing. And I was kind of trying to emulate like some of the modular sequencing that I've done with like a bunch of randomized pitch and tempo and stuff. So I was just trying to kind of emulate that on the piano, so it was very random and not composed at all. But and same with Hazel Creek was also similar. It kind of just happened in like one take or so.
Nice.
Did you start by playing instruments when you were younger, or did you like start with synths at a young age and then get into instruments?
I started with instruments. Piano was the first instrument I started learning when I was 5 or 6. And I'd always wanted to learn synths, or like mess around with them, but never got an opportunity until later in life. But yeah, I've always gravitated that direction, I guess. But a relatively new thing in my entire life of playing music, I guess.
Yeah. Did you start that early because of like your parents' stuff, or was it like a sibling? Or
that kind of, and it just, my dad played guitar a little bit, so he would like want to help me out with guitar. I didn't know much about synths, so that was kind of a reason, I guess. But yeah, I don't know. It never was like one of those things that I like really tried to go for, I guess, until later.
For sure. So when did your modular stuff sort of come into the picture? Because it's pretty expensive and all of that. Like I can't imagine that being an easy sort of thing to get into.
Yeah, it was super not an easy thing to get into. I probably spent like 3 years in total building up any resemblance of a small rack. I would get like one module every like 6 months or so, every like 3 or 4 months. And honestly, it kind of helped me learn modular because I just had one thing to focus on, and would learn the ins and outs of it completely, and then expand once it felt necessary rather than just because I could. But yeah, I definitely sold a lot of everything that I owned to get one module and one case. It was kind of a wild. I was like, I'm gonna drop all my other music and other things and get this one thing. And yeah, definitely instill broke from Modular. But it's good fun.
Seems like a risk that was kind of worth it.
Yeah. Definitely.
How did you learn how to play these things? Did you know someone, or did you just watch YouTube tutorials?
Yeah, mostly just YouTube tutorials and kind of figuring out stuff on my own. I guess, certainly for like piano stuff, just going by ear. For like modular stuff, I mean, so much of the interfaces are so strange that it's kind of, I always kind of found fun exploring a new interface and trying to figure out how to use it actually in my own way, I guess. So that definitely, kind of just experimenting a lot.
Yeah, nice. Amazing. So before Annie, what were you doing musically, if anything? Were you in like bands and stuff in high school and all that, or?
Yeah, I was in a high school band, and then I was in a solo project right after that. It was like classic like indie rock music, and I would just record all the parts myself and did that for a little bit, and then slowly that kind of shifted into more synth stuff, and then became Annie a couple years later.
Nice.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of changing the name? Because I know Brady, he's gone through it so many times where he starts out with an alias and he's like, I'm tired of this name, or like just the image that he's built, and then he feels like he has to start over again. Have you ever had that like want?
Definitely. Yeah. I've definitely had that thought. I think, I've definitely had that thought. Mostly like when I want to do like other like completely different sounding projects and stuff. I'm like, I want to go under a different name or do something else.
What kind of sounds have you thought of getting into?
I really want to be in like a classic hard rock band. Just really straight. No, not a lot of less than things. But my roommate makes a bunch of house tracks, and sometimes I mess around with him, which is kind of fun.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well, I definitely feel like the direction of Annie is going like less electronic and more just acoustic instruments being manipulated by electronics. Mm-hmm. Is that sort of the direction that you're going to continue going on, you think?
I think so. I'm feeling like I'm going to go that direction and then eventually come back and meet somewhere in the middle with the both of the two.
Nice.
Which I've been kind of doing a lot of practicing for a couple of live shows that have coming up. I've been much more focusing on mixing the two in a more parallel way instead of just running stuff through effects, essentially. And processing, which has been super fun and a very different experience. But yeah, I think for now I'm kind of enjoying the acoustic instruments process through synth and synthetic stuff.
Nice. I guess that brings us on to the conversation of your live shows. So you're doing a lot of them recently, I've noticed. Do they pretty much look like that video for So Well, or like what's your sort of setup there? Yeah,
it is similar to that. I've actually started collaborating with a couple string players, and hopefully a couple woodwind players in the future. But right now my setup is kind of wild. I have a piano with 3 different pedals underneath, an expression pedal and then 2 volume pedals, which controls the ascend from the piano into an effects unit, and then the other volume control is for the volume of the modular next to me, so I can play piano and bring in the modular, as well as ascend from the piano to effects in the modular. So it kind of feels like playing an organ, but it's a little intense. I try not to use. I've never used Ableton or any computer stuff during live sets just because I'm not used to it. I had a lot of problems with it when I was first starting out, and so I've just always gone with weird signal routing to solve that.
That's crazy.
Yeah, it's pretty funny. It's pretty nutty.
So is that mostly like improvisation as well, or are you like rehearsing that pretty regularly?
When it's by myself, it's really I'll like, kind of figure out the points I want to go to, and like on the modular, I'll be like, okay, this is what this does, and then kind of just know how much time I need to do each section and improvise it. But recently playing with the string players, we've been having rehearsal once a week, just for a couple hours.
Oh, wow.
Which
That's good.
has been nice.
Sick.
It
Wow.
feels good to practice this type of music, even though it's like super random and very not structured. It's good to it's fun to practice it.
Probably helps creatively too, right?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Cool.
Yeah, do you think you're going to start sort of writing more for live stuff in the future, or you still just think you're going to just sort of like, write for recording, like what I do? I don't write at all for live. I don't think about how anything's going to be
Played out
at
person.
all.
Yeah.
I don't even know how to play half my songs. So
I know. Yeah, that's always a funny thing. Is like I'd love to be able to like play some of my tracks, but I have no idea how I'd even begin to try to play them without like getting a whole Ableton rig and just some crazy setup that I'm like I'd rather not figure that out. Something about it, I'm just like I'd rather just play a new set that's like kind of new music, but but yeah, I think that a mixture of both. I still want to do kind of like make tracks that are unplayable live because they're so in depth and have so much processing and just recording stuff, producing that it's not playable. But I also do definitely have been enjoying playing stuff in this live way that still sounds really wild, and have really enjoyed working with the string section. That's been super fun. So I think I'm like kind of in this classical mindset right now that I think I might explore for a little bit, and then I think a mixture of both, definitely.
for sure. And you're learning the cello right now yourself.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that for like your music, or are you just doing it on the side just to try to learn it?
Definitely for my music. I'm not expecting anything to happen, but I find that honestly, like sometimes trying to record myself playing different instruments makes me a lot better at them really fast, or at least helps me learn them, just because I'm like hyper focusing on like very certain things, and it has to be perfect. So I kind of like that aspect. Although recently it's just been like kind of jamming with my own tracks and just having fun trying to figure it out.
That's cool. So you play tracks that you've already made and then you play the cello over it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
That'd be cool to come out with other versions of those tracks with like the cello over it and stuff, if you find something that sounds cool.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, that would be fun.
Do you do reworks to your tracks a lot?
I just recently started a couple of reworks. Honestly, I don't know why. I just kind of thought I was trying to like make new songs and just kept getting stuck playing those. So I was like, I'm just gonna try remaking this really quick just for fun. Which actually helped inspire new ideas in a parallel thing, which is good. But yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's definitely one of the better workflows I find is going back to projects that you just didn't think were working at all, and then you already have a starting point, right?
Yeah.
And it goes day to day, right? You might think something sounds horrible one day, and then the next day you're like, this is the best thing I've ever written.
Yeah.
Yeah,
that oftentimes happens to me. Actually, the other day I was like, all right, I think I'm gonna re-record a demo that I released on my Bandcamp. And I was like thinking about it, I was like, wait, I think I might have actually released this as just a song. And it turns out I did, and it was like, I'm glad I didn't go down the path of like starting to re-record this and find this out. But
with that being said, though, with music like ours, I feel like they all sound not similar, but a lot of the time it's in the same key and all this stuff, same basic ideas. So you could honestly get away with, starting one track and making 4 tracks out of it.
True. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I've definitely done that. Definitely just started, especially with the modular stuff. It's like generative over long periods of time. I've just recorded like a very long section and then chopped up each section and kind of produced a little bit and like added stuff to each section a little bit, but kind of just left it as like a 3 movement part song, if you will.
That's sick. I mean, yeah, because your songs are fairly short too. So is that a general workflow that you do where you have your generative modular stuff and then sort of cut it up, or like
that's been
why aren't you putting out 10-minute tracks?
I don't know. I honestly should. I've like always thought about that and honestly like have gotten close, but then for some reason have not. The acoustic stuff is actually easy. For some reason I it's hard for me to like figure out how to write like 3-minute songs that are based off of acoustic parts, just because I like run out of ideas and I don't want to have like slow sections really that aren't interesting. So I kind of just wind up with this like build up and then it stops.
Yeah.
But hopefully I'll be able to. I'm trying to push myself to write over at least 2 minutes and 30 seconds for new stuff.
I mean, that's the way to go now, right?
Yeah.
With streaming is the shorter the track, the better almost.
Yeah.
You know?
It seems. Yeah.
But who knows? Maybe in the future it'll be like the 8-minute tracks are the ones that get all the attention.
Yeah.
That'd be pretty sweet.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That would be pretty cool. Yeah, I think someday I definitely will. It would be fun, and I've never done it, so.
Definitely do it. I mean, even just thinking about tracks in parts and just sort of weaving them into one another.
Yeah.
It seems counterproductive because you could make it into like 3 songs
Yeah.
or just one long song. But, you know, that's something I was experimenting with for a while there. And I was able to make like a 12-minute song that is still one of my favorites. But it's pretty easy when you think about it.
When it's so long.
Yeah, you can get really, really into the track, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even writing it too.
Yeah.
It's really fun.
With the live shows, do you get nervous?
Definitely. I definitely recently when I first started doing modular stuff, it was honestly not as nerve-wracking just because I'd been used to playing in my other guitar in my other band where everything is like super timed out and we have like a very certain amount of songs to get through, and playing modular was like really chill, especially ambient music. I was like, wow, I can go so slow here and just like honestly relax in it, which is nice. But recently I started, every show I played, I've like massively changed my set and decided to take on some crazy idea for some reason and like not really rehearse it and just be like, I can figure it out during, like I just need to be able to like make sure all the components work and then I'll be able to like feel it out and figure it out, which has worked. But there's the moment where I'm like before I'm just like, oh man, this is such a bad, why did I do this? This is a really bad idea. Should have just gone with something simpler, but it usually works out. So when my other music project, I play guitar in this other band, and we went on tour this last year, and there were moments when I was like, we were waiting to go on, and I was like, oh my god, I don't think I've ever felt this anxious about playing music.
Oh.
And that was a new experience. I was like, God, I don't know about this. This is terrible. But yeah, we'll see. I think as a I haven't played a live show under Annie with other people involved, so I think that'll be interesting. I don't know if that'll make me more nervous or less nervous, but we will find out soon, I guess. Yeah,
because I wanted to ask about the tours or shows that you were, I don't know if it was co-headlining or you're playing with Amos Hart.
Mm-hmm.
Was it playing separately and you guys were just sort of co-headlining?
We were playing together, actually. We were playing some songs from his album that we recorded together.
Right.
And then some new stuff. And that's what, so we eventually kind of just decided to make a fully new project. We have a bass player with us who we played music with since like 6th grade. And then we also added a drum, a full rhythm section. So we kind of were like, let's just make a fully new thing out of this. And keep our separate music separate because it's different enough and we can just make a new thing.
Yeah, I was going to bring up Johnny's Day Out later, but if you're cool to talk about it.
Yeah, absolutely.
That song is
I showed
sick.
Chantal the intro today.
Is it just the intro?
That was just the intro.
Oh, okay. Yeah. That's awesome.
The intro to the EP.
Yeah.
And it is so good. Like ever since I heard it, I was like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah, that was a fun one to make, definitely.
Do you guys have an idea of when that'll be out?
Yeah, yesterday we just uploaded our first single to DistroKid, so it should be out. We have
Nice.
It's set to release on the 14th for Valentine's Day.
Nice.
Which would be
Awesome.
Wow. Oh, that's pretty soon.
Yeah, so just a couple weeks, which is exciting.
Yeah. So you were in the studio. I don't know how much you want to get into this, but you were in the studio with Graham quickly, right?
Yeah.
How was the recording process like for that? Like, because obviously doing your solo stuff,
Yeah.
you know, you're probably in your bedroom most of the time, like recording.
Yeah.
So actually getting into a studio and recording with other people, like, how different is that for you?
It's nice. I've only done it a couple times, and every time it's like, obviously it's much more easy to stay focused because you're in a different space and it's like kind of a dedicated space. We also all rented an Airbnb up by where Graham's studio is, so we could just really stay locked in and not have to come back all the way across town and waste a bunch of time getting distracted with that, which is a funny move. It wasn't our bass player is like really into that, but I get very easily distracted. But it was nice. It was definitely a different. It's kind of funny because you like wait for your part and then it's all about you, and it's super intense. Like really going in, producing the parts, like chopping things away, adding stuff, and then you're just sitting for like 5 hours while everybody does their stuff, which is really fun, and like much more tiring honestly than recording my own stuff. Which is funny because there's definitely, I feel like there's less going on, but at the same time there's more to process and more going on at the same moment. But it was great watching Graham, and I always like being with other people in the studio just to bounce ideas off of. I can sometimes just get, I don't know, stuck with my own thoughts, which are good, but I think it's always important to have other creative thoughts.
Absolutely. Do you find that's the case even with Annie? Do you bounce ideas off your friends and stuff a lot?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely.
Sick.
I'll oftentimes at least like show people different stages of tracks as they get built into something full.
Nice.
My morning was much less of that. It was kind of just I made the entire thing and then nobody heard it until I released it for some reason.
Was that a weird process for you, or did it feel comfortable doing it?
I think it might have been comfortable, and maybe I think I was just kind of shy about putting together a release. And it also happened really fast. I made the first iteration of it over 3 months, and then in a week decided to change half the tracks, and we recorded them, and we recorded half the album in 3 or 4 days and mixed and mastered it, and then was like, all right, I'm done now.
Wow.
So
that's crazy.
That was kind of weird, but it also felt very natural and very normal, I guess, for me.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I mean, when you're in that flow of things, everything definitely feels right.
Yeah.
You know? So Wander Into came out 2019, and then you kind of didn't release much of anything, maybe a couple singles here and there up until Homeward, which was an EP.
Mm-hmm.
So what was happening in between that time from 2019 to 2021? I guess the heart of the pandemic, really.
Yeah.
Were you just sort of laying low and sort of letting things flourish, or?
Yeah, I was still working through that whole time, and wound up having to sell a bunch of stuff. I sold my computer and a bunch of recording equipment.
Oh wow.
So I didn't have a computer. I didn't go on a computer I think for 2.5 years in that time, which was honestly nice. I mean I had my phone, so I can't fully say I wasn't on a computer, but it was really nice, especially for music. The house I was living in at the time had a terribly out of tune acoustic piano, but I played piano every single day during that time, and kind of just got back to writing music just for myself and to no end, which was really nice. Not even having the option to be okay, I want to record this, and I cannot record anything, so I will just play it, I guess, which was honestly really nice. And yeah, didn't do much synth stuff either. I really just kind of sat with piano for a really long time. And yeah, I kind of felt coming out of I think 2021 or 2021 maybe. 2021. I was kind of getting ready to record stuff again, and getting back into it, I think it felt really nice and a nice refresh of kind of finding that reason why I was making music in the first place. And coming back to doing the NNE stuff felt a little better than previously in 2019. I definitely was like already feeling some like, I guess maybe just being a little overwhelmed, or at least like just like I'd been recording music on my own for so long. I was like, I need a break from recording. So it definitely came at a good time, maybe, or just the right time.
For sure.
Yeah.
So I'm assuming that's sort of what happened with your YouTube channel as well, is that you just didn't have a computer.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I see.
Yeah, I had a camera and shot a bunch of stuff, which is just kind of sitting on, and all that is on a hard drive, which I should maybe go through, but yeah, that definitely affected doing YouTube stuff and whatnot.
Did you miss it at that time, or was it also just kind of a relief being able to focus on what you were doing?
I think it was a relief. It was like I really had gotten into a good routine of like making YouTube content and stuff. But it was, I think also the thing was I wanted to focus on making tracks and music to release as songs and tracks rather than YouTube videos. And it was like so much work trying to keep up with posting to YouTube pretty frequently, and then also having time to record other music that's completely separate. So I think I kind of like naturally gravitated that way. And yeah, it definitely took a lot that I was like, I kind of want to break and come back to just playing music.
For sure. Can I ask, what do you yeah, feel free to say that you're, don't want to talk about it or whatever. What do you do for like your day job though? Are you a chef? I'm pretty sure, right?
Yeah. I cook at, actually since 2019, I've cooked at this restaurant in Portland.
Oh, sick.
Yeah.
So how do you find that sort of, I guess what I'm asking is, do you have a passion for cooking, or is it like sort of just a thing to get by?
It's kind of both. It definitely started as like just a thing to get by. I really enjoy it and found that I really enjoyed it. I think it also, in a weird way, inspires me to make music when I get home if I'm not like exhausted, which often is the case. But there's like something about it that I'll be like just thinking about music stuff, and it will be like all circulating my brain while I'm cooking, and then I'll get home and can flesh it all out. But yeah, so I think they work really nicely together.
For sure. Yeah. I mean, they're both pretty creative, I think.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
For the most part.
Definitely.
But also technical.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's probably a lot of equivalents with like Modular even,
Yeah, absolutely.
Different ingredients go into the patches.
Yeah, exactly.
Right?
Yeah. Yeah, it does feel
sure.
like chefing up sometimes when you're making a patch.
It's a good way to look at it.
Yeah.
So did you grow up in Oregon?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Nice. As a kid and stuff, were you going out into, the Oregon forests and all that? Like, did that really shape your music and all that?
Absolutely. Yeah, I, as a kid, would go up into the woods all the time. We have a big park called Forest Park, which is really just essentially a giant. It's not really. They call it a city park, but it like kind of just goes in the woods behind it, so it's not really. But yeah, I would hang out up there all the time. The surrounding area around Portland is super gorgeous, and there's everything around. There's the desert, beach, forest, mountains within like 2 hours drive, which is super nice.
Wow. I don't really know the area too well. It's kind of, so I know like Canadian geography. Mm-hmm. It's like right below BC kind of, right?
Yeah. So it's Vancouver, and then Seattle, and then Portland and they're all about the same distance from each other, I think.
Sick. Wow, that's sweet. So do you find yourself even now going like, into the mountains and stuff to get inspiration, or? I try
to just honestly just to get out of the city and get some fresh air. Oftentimes, it is hard to get out all the time. Gas is pretty expensive these days, and need to get an electric car, so that's a little bit more
Seriously.
eco-friendly. But yeah, I definitely try to get out, especially when it's nice during the winter. It's oftentimes in Portland very gray and drizzly and not great outside. So when it's sunny, I definitely try to get out.
Do you do a lot of field recordings when you go out to like nature and stuff, or?
I used to. I try to record just a little bit of something on my phone anywhere I am, just because I wind up using it. But I used to do that like intentionally a lot more. And honestly, like sometimes I'm like I just want to go out somewhere. I don't want to bring a bunch of recording stuff and worry about that. I just want to go somewhere. Yeah.
Yeah, I even find that with photography, like trying to force yourself to take photos or whatever sometimes detracts from the experience.
Yeah,
where you just want to be outside or whatever.
Yeah.
But I'm so jealous of that area.
Yeah.
It's so beautiful. Everything around here is so gorgeous. I just went to the coast the other day, and it was such a nice experience. And I just got this really terrible like $5 point and shoot film camera, which has honestly been great because you don't have to think about anything. You just point and shoot, and there's not a lot of thinking going on. It's super fun and nice.
For sure. I mean, talk about gas being expensive. Film is stupid expensive.
It's crazy. I cannot believe it. I was like, I used to work in a film lab a couple years ago, and hadn't really. I think I left in 2019 and hadn't really like thought about film, and came back this year and I was like, holy heck, like what happened? It's crazy. It's like twice as expensive now. It's nuts.
It's nuts. It's honestly made me stop shooting film. Like I haven't shot film now in a year and a half at least, just because why would you? It's like $2 a shot now almost.
It's insane.
And we're like an hour away from the developer
lab.
now.
Oh,
so
man.
It's I mean, I've also been having a lot of fun shooting digitally again, which is nice. But you know, that's also got its downfalls. So I don't know.
For your artwork, do you ever use your own photography? Like I know recently you've been using the same artist for the EP and then now for the album. But have you ever used your own photography or thought of doing that?
I have a little bit. I think Wander Into and Cordillera are both my photos. Which
nice.
I used to really enjoy doing that. At some point, I guess when I stopped shooting it, I kind of stopped. I kind of just did not like any of the album covers I would make. I would like try some, just be like, this looks not good. It does not look as professional as I want it to. And also, it's been really fun to work with other people and like, I don't know, have them be part of the project in a certain way and collaborate with them and see what they have come up with.
For sure.
It's super fun.
Yeah, how do you like create the album art? Do you just tell them like, give me some examples and I'll choose, or do you kind of sit down and go, so I'm thinking these colors or this kind of vibe, or how does that work?
For Homeward, for the EP, I kind of chose some of Valentina's work, the person who did the album artwork. I chose some of her previous stuff and was like, I really like this idea. What do you think? And she sent me some drafts and I chose one. For By Morning, I kind of was like, here's the album, and I trust you. You do whatever you think, whatever you feel. And that was the first draft I got. There was a couple different options, but they all pretty much looked like that. And I was like, wow, this is perfect. I couldn't imagine anything better than this.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
It's so sick. Yeah, it fits it perfectly too. Yeah, it's just the colors. It kind of it reminded me of Bon Iver's 22 A Million. Obviously, it's just in the color scheme, right?
Yeah.
They kind of look similar. But I was like, man, this is sick. And to have it on vinyl too. I mean, now you've done 2 vinyl runs. Are they both sold out now?
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah,
that's all you can ask for.
Yeah, I think I sold out in my pre-sale in like an hour, which is exciting.
Wow, that's awesome.
I know.
Congrats.
I was devastated the first time that I missed it.
Yeah, they go quick. I'm thinking of doing a large pressing at some point, but we'll see. I want to get Wander into on lathe or
Yes.
vinyl as well. But yeah, the person who cut my morning lathe is just this guy in town that is connected to a couple of people I've been playing music with and went to high school with a super long time ago, which is I did not realize at first, so that was kind of fun. But
wow.
yeah, it's been awesome, like just having this guy who cuts super well and is really chill and does music stuff himself, which is great in town. Good
Yeah,
connection.
because I was surprised how good it sounded with it being a lathe.
Hmm.
I mean, nowadays the technology is good enough for them all to sound good, but it
Yeah.
still is surprising when you get that and it's like, oh, it actually doesn't just sound like crackle.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was super surprised too. And like he showed me his setup, and it's super small and just really nice and the sweet space.
That's sick. So for Wander Into, did you do that illustration on the front?
I did not.
Was that you?
No.
Oh, okay.
My friend did that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
I used to have this really
'Cause-
cool. I never released this, but I had this really cool animation where it grew out of the water.
Oh,
Mhm.
cool.
I remember spending like 2 days working on that, and then just like watching it and being like, oh god, it looks cool, but 2 days there goes. That's why I can't ever get an animation. I think I would not have the patience for it, but I was
So
definitely
you
sure.
kind of went through that.
Yeah.
yeah.
But I was going to say, like, that illustration in particular and, like, the image with the drawing over top, it was inspiring for me. Like, I probably stole that idea, for 5 releases because of at least 5 singles.
Yeah, I guess-
And then I was doing the animations over top, kind of like what
Yeah.
you're saying,
Mhm.
how it would just be like a little thing growing out of the water or
Yeah.
birds flapping their wings.
But you
And-
did the cover for Bedroom, and I guess that's pretty
Yeah.
much the vibe it was. It's
Exactly.
the photo and then the drawing.
Yeah, I think you were the first one I saw do that, and
Really.
I don't think I
That's
had realized that until we were planning this. So,
Yeah.
That's funny.
so-
Yeah, I don't. I think I was originally gonna go with just the. See, I'm looking at the album cover right now. I was originally just gonna go with the water, but yeah, I decided to add that in there.
it adds a lot.
I don't know why.
And it looks so nice. It's so sick. I love it.
Yeah, yeah. That's just like an hour away from where I live, or so, which is great.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
Wow,
close.
that's sick.
yeah.
Not to go back again to the live shows, but
No, I was going to as well.
do you mainly play in Oregon, or have you played all around the States? Have you ever come up to Canada?
I came to Vancouver twice to play.
Okay.
In before the pandemic, and yeah, mostly just on the West Coast. I did a small tour in like 2019 with Aunt Annie, and then I did do an event with Colin Benders up in Utrecht, and then I did a Toman synth event as well in Germany and played a couple shows around there,
Oh,
which is
sick.
super cool. But yeah, kind of I guess a little all over. Nowhere like super frequently, other than Portland. But yeah, hoping to get out and play more shows this year.
Yeah, you should come back to Canada.
Yeah.
I'd love to see
Toronto.
a live show.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that'd be
100%.
fun. That's,
It seems like you're sort of opening for people that aren't ambient now. It seems like that seems to be the running pattern. Is this
Yeah.
intentional or is this?
I mean, it was like in the back of my mind intentional. I was like, this would be cool if this happened. I wouldn't mind. And then it kind of just happened. So I was like, perfect. I don't think I did anything.
Exactly.
Which is great. That's kind of definitely the direction I want to go, because I would love to also become sort of a, not just in the electronic genre, but kind of bridging both, and yeah, I think that would be cool.
Yeah, I mean your music is perfect for it, especially opening for, more folk acts or country acts. Like, I feel like even I'm obsessed with your the video where you're performing So Well, the instrumental version of So Well, where you're sitting there with the acoustic guitar and you just have the tape machine and some modular to the side. And I'm like, just get up there on stage like that, and people
Yeah.
would go nuts. I
Yeah.
feel like,
Yeah.
like the.
I've never done the guitar. I did it one time, but I was like live looping a bunch of other stuff, and it was confusing for me as well. But I really wanted to go that route too, and just do the guitar again, and maybe a couple strings in the background. But yeah.
That'd be sick. I'm excited to hear the sort of progression with your string stuff in getting quartets or even just horn groups or something. Like it adds to it so much, I think.
Yeah. Yeah.
Do you listen to a lot? Sorry.
What was that?
Do you listen to a lot of country music?
I have been.
Your music is very country inspired. Yeah.
I've been listening to a lot of country stuff. I've been listening to a lot of. Recently, it's been a lot more like classical stuff, and whatnot. But yeah, I was really into some ambient western and ambient country too.
Oh, cool.
To explore. But yeah, especially like old stuff like the John Fahey. Stuff is super inspiring for all that his finger picking and whatnot.
Yeah.
And like I love the sound of pedal steel. I think it's so gorgeous and yeah, some of the sounds in country are like super cool to me. And, yeah, really.
Yeah, even just sliding guitars, right? Like.
Yeah.
It's such a sick sound. Something that I was incorporating for a little while there. Not that I've never really delved too deep into country, but definitely using some of those techniques of folk music and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And I've been trying to get an acoustic guitar to sound good in an ambient track for years now, and I can't do it still. So the fact that you did it, I'm like, all over by morning, right? I'm like, I'm so jealous.
I don't know what I did. Listen to a lot of John Fahey and I really like some of the old, like, I feel like you could call it ambient, but I know that, but like maybe it wasn't thought of as that, but just that old like finger picking styles, and like Elizabeth Cotton does a lot of it, but there's like some instrumental stuff out there that's just like super cool and just like old guitar on a mono tape, and that's it. And it's kind of awesome. Super into that.
For sure. So something you told me recently was when you're recording piano, sometimes you go to a piano shop near you with some recording gear instead of a studio, which I thought was the sickest thing I've ever heard. And I was just wondering how did that start? When did you start doing that? And where did you get that idea? Because that never even popped into my head, but it's so smart. Like,
I guess the first time I ever did something like that was actually when I recorded the original piano part from Memoir. It was actually just a voice memo on my phone. When I was on tour, we went to this piano shop in, I think actually maybe it was here in Portland. I took the person I was on tour with to this piano shop and asked. I was like, can I record some samples of some stuff, if you don't mind? And the guy was actually super chill about it. I thought he was going to be annoyed. But he was super chill and was showing us all these really wild pianos. He's like, this one's kind of broken, but listen to how the keys sound. They're super wild. I think that one would sound good. And it was honestly super fun. And I found this beautiful piano from I think 1901, the Steinway, that it had something strange, 80 3 keys or something odd. It was before the standard kind of piano keyboard came out, and it sounded so beautiful. And yeah, I recorded the whole piano part of the first Memoir just on my phone on the piano. But yeah, that kind of started that. I came back when I wanted to start recording music again after playing piano a bunch. I was like, I want to record on a grand piano, a super nice piano, and just reached out to them. And it turned out one of the people who worked there had watched my videos and was a Buchla synth head himself, and was like, yeah, to come by anytime.
Wow.
I think after they closed, they let me come in, and they left me alone for an hour and a half, and basically until I left them, and it was super nice. So yeah, I've done that a couple times around Portland, at a couple different shops. Yeah.
So do you bring in all your mics and stuff, or do you still just do it on your phone mostly?
I bring just one mic, AKG C414.
Okay.
And sometimes if I can, I'll try to like borrow a second one to do stereo miking, but usually it's just a mono mic over the piano.
Really?
Yeah, which works out pretty nicely, honestly.
I guess if you're layering pianos and stuff, it would definitely work nicely. I always hear about people recording stuff on their phones or just with one mic or a really crappy mic or something. Mm-hmm. I'm always so jealous 'cause I can't get anything to sound good with 8 mics. You know? I don't understand how everybody else does it.
It's so difficult. I haven't actually found anything I think it sounds good, but like only because like I reach I think a point at which I'm like I can't keep like experimenting with this because I think I'm just losing my mind. And like there's never a point where I'm like, oh, I got it, this is perfect. And like piano's just been, especially I've been recording a lot more of it and trying to mix a lot more of it, and I'm just confused a lot. So I'm like, there's so much going on in the frequency spectrum, and when you start adding stuff, especially synth stuff, it just gets crazy, and I'm like, I don't know how to fix this necessarily and make it sound good. This just sounds crazy. But
yeah,
that's definitely something
exactly how I feel.
Yeah, it's wild. I don't know the proper miking. I know that like, I've experimented with all the placements and like all that stuff, and it is funny because like I don't love the sound quality necessarily of iPhone recording, but it's been the easiest to work into other music with other tracks and stuff. I think maybe their compressor or limiter or whatever helps.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know what the secret is yet.
Huh. Yeah, that's really interesting actually. Because I remember I recorded a track with, the expensive mics that I have, the C414s. Mm-hmm. And then I also set up my Zoom recorder. And I remember I was playing, and then I listened to it after, and the Zoom set up at the back of the room sounded way better. So I just ended up going with that.
Yeah.
And it's weird, though, because I don't know about you. Every time I set up the mics, it sounds different. Obviously, I should be measuring and stuff. You know, there's all those rules and all that. But sometimes it sounds phenomenal, and sometimes it's just not great. And I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, I definitely have that, especially with acoustic pianos, because like I'm usually playing a different piano every time. And here's a new one to try. But yeah, I know that like atmosphere can affect acoustic pianos pretty greatly, but I don't know if that's like, I always thought that was something that's like you can barely tell in the tone, but maybe when you're miking it's like super apparent. But yeah, I don't know. I won't lie, I'm not very good. Like I know the science behind miking and like the theory, but I definitely don't apply it. Like I don't measure anything. I definitely like cause phase issues when I'm stereo miking. I'm like, I definitely need to brush up on mic technique because it's not my strong suit. But
yeah, I feel like that's mostly my issues, just the phase issues.
Yeah.
If I had one of those sick, you can get the mic stands that actually have a ruler on it.
Really?
So it's always placed. Yeah, it's pretty
That'd
sick.
Be helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're fairly cheap. Mm-hmm. I mean, they're not really that cheap, but if you use it 10 times, it's worth it.
It's worth it. Yeah.
If you just pick up one of those, it'll save your life so much, but I just never do.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
yeah, that being said, I do love the 414. That has been like I recorded all of My Morning with that. And it's so versatile, and it has been great it sounds really nice on piano too, but I'm just processing.
It sounds great on it. It sounds great on everything. Yeah. I'm pretty much they're the only stereo pair that I have.
Yeah.
I only have one other mic and I never use it unless I have a cello in the room. Yeah. But it's like a DPA 4080 or 4090. It's like a little pencil mic. It sounds really crazy. Really good. But yeah. Everybody else is getting like $8,000 mics, and I'm like, I don't think it's worth it.
Yeah.
Yeah. We're all trying to run it through tape anyways.
I know. It's going to get ruined soon afterwards.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Which brings up the question of tape for you. So you kind of run everything through tape at this point, right?
Yeah.
Generally. Mm-hmm. When did that technique sort of come around for you?
That was also in Wander into everything was recorded. Actually, on this tape machine here, I recorded everything using this. It's a
nice.
wild 2-channel portable reel-to-reel, and all the stuff is like pitch manipulated and like affected in on the tape in this. And I was like, when I was kind of wanting to make another release for in the early stages of By Morning, I guess, I was listening to Wander Into a lot, and I was like, man, everything is so nice on tape. And I'd already been doing tape stuff for my band and like for other people and just kind of for fun. And I was like, okay, I want to make that like a huge part of By Morning is centered around being on tape and like using tape manipulation. And then that kind of just continually, I was like, yeah, I'm definitely doing this. This sounds so nice. There's no way around tape.
Exactly. And even, what's the track that starts with acoustic guitar and you speed it up slowly for the intro?
I think that's
it's in the middle.
Afternoon. Yeah.
Oh, yeah, late afternoon. Yeah, it's so nice. But when I first heard it, I was like, why didn't he just not do that? But now when I listen to it every time, I'm waiting for it. And it's like a key part of the song, you know? That's how you know you're listening to it.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't, there's only a couple songs that have all the tracks just directly recorded into tape without a digital intermediate. I think that's one of them, and I think it was like an accident. I had like done something with the pitch and forgot to put it back, and then was like recording it and just like put it up, and was like, all right, I'll just finish the take out, and it turned out being awesome.
Yeah, exactly. It's so sick.
Yeah.
Oh man. That's sick. And yeah, that's like the famous tape recorder that's in a lot of your videos too, I think, right? At this point?
Yeah. It's been all over the world. It came to Germany with me. I actually got to go to a like really old radio repair shop because I blew the fuse out, of course, when I got to Europe, switched the power. But they were like super into it and had the like super random fuse I needed and put it back together, which is kind of cool.
Yeah, it sounds like that's the thing that everybody goes through when they go play music in Europe. Yeah. Everybody's gear just fails.
Yeah, I know. I need to like remember next time, just like switch everything before I even leave, get on the plane. But yeah.
How was it traveling with that? Did you bring it as a carry-on or you just checked it in?
I did. It's extremely heavy, to be honest. So I had this like backpack that I don't think I had any checked luggage. I just had like a backpack with this stuff in like wrapped in a shirt and like stuffed into the bottom of the bag, and it was extremely heavy. And usually would get taken out and looked at. Along with traveling with modular gear is like also really exciting. It does not look super friendly, and usually would
all the wires and everything.
Yeah.
Which like funny enough, like in America, they like when I was coming to and from America, like they were like super like looking at it and swabbing it. And then in Europe, when I was leaving Amsterdam, they like pulled it out and the guy like opened it and like barely saw it and saw the wires. Like, oh, you play modular synth? That's awesome. And like put it down. And was like, all right. And I was like, wow, that's super wild. I guess like you guys just know, maybe random coincidence, or like I know that America doesn't have as long of a history of electronic music and or like for it, but
yeah. I mean, even just the culture of like experimental music and just different music in Europe is just different, you know?
Yeah.
It's more accepted, I guess. People see it on TV and stuff or something.
Yeah, much more commonplace. I have no idea, but I think so. That's what
something like that.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought of getting into scoring, like for films?
Mm-hmm. I think that's like maybe like my long-term goal. I think is to get into scoring and do scoring stuff. I've gotten to score a couple films just from like friends who are in the film industry, and a couple sync licenses dealing with film stuff.
Cool.
Which has been like honestly the most exciting thing. I really enjoy that. So yeah, that's kind of my like farther down the path. Once I'm like I've gotten to like I want to play shows out of me, and like I'm done with that.
Yeah.
And honestly, not even just when I'm like when I get offered, I definitely will pursue that, because I think even as a kid I was like, not necessarily like I want to make scores, but like my favorite songs would be like soundtrack scores and like
Yeah.
you know, super epic sounding soundtracks and whatnot. So I think
Are you big into like sound design? And because I guess on Modular we don't hear probably a quarter of the things you make, right? So are you in your room making crazy noises and stuff all the time, or?
not all. I used to definitely a lot more. I actually don't do a whole. It's been a while since I've like really delved in with the modular, which I'm definitely missing. Definitely want to get back to that. But yeah, I do enjoy like sound design. My roommates and I, just like for fun projects, we'll grab like just like a clip of something from YouTube and like score out the whole thing with just random sounds.
That's so cool.
And just for no reason, just to be like just for fun. And it's like really fun like going for like sound effects too. You can change the entire scene if you add like something random and just and same with like scoring. I think you can change the entire scene of a movie with the soundtrack.
Yeah, the entire mood.
Super important.
Yeah, sometimes it really ruins a movie when it's like a super sad part and they just don't have that music that's pulling on those sad emotional strings. You're like, why is the music like all pumped up right now or something?
Yeah, it's so important.
Yeah,
and I used to do freelance cinematography and color grading, so like I really love being in the film industry. It's not like something that I think I would want to pursue as like the only thing I do, but I really like the idea of being like in the sound department and just like getting to work visually in a way, but also it's still like very much auditorial based and you're still doing sound. But I like working with directors and cinematographers and people in that field. I think it's super cool. Yeah.
I don't think I've ever heard anybody say they like working with directors.
I mean,
it's like the worst part. No, I know what you mean. But oh man, that's funny. Because every time I've done a scoring job, it's like the reason I don't do much of it anymore is like, oh my god, it's the notes you get and it's never ending, and you're like, oh my god.
There's been a couple times too where you've scored for someone and they've been like, oh, you have to change this one little thing, and he'll be like, okay, and he won't change it and he'll send it back and like, oh yeah, it's perfect now.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, so clearly you like weren't listening to it or it wasn't that big of a deal.
I don't know if it's even that. It's like this separate time of listening to something affects you differently, right? And it's something that I think a lot about in music too, is like even if somebody hears something and it doesn't resonate now, doesn't mean it won't resonate in a year from now or 10 years from now, Yeah. It's like ever changing or whatever.
Yeah. Actually, as you say that, it just all the memories of bad sync projects I've had. I've definitely had.
It gets clouded over.
Oh my gosh, here's my 4th revision, and I'm doing this all for free. Like. Yeah. Wait a minute, what's happening right now? I don't know if these are possible things that should be achieved.
Yeah, exactly.
So that's definitely frustrating. That's not fun.
No, but it is great. It's a great industry to be in, and like, it's I've noticed the films that I do or the music videos or whatever. Sometimes I like looking back on them more than like even albums. Like they mean more for some reason. I guess because I'm not the only one working on it. Maybe that has to do something to do with it. But it just feels bigger. It feels bigger than an album for some reason.
Totally.
So it's definitely exciting. I would love to see you score something, especially anything.
That would be fun. Yeah, I've only done one like full score that was like original music. And
what was that for?
It was super fun. My friend's like student, his like graduating student film. I did sound for it.
Oh, okay.
Super fun.
So it's not a public thing. It was just he used it. Okay.
Yeah, but it was a nice process, and we're hoping to work more together in the future on stuff. But kind of just getting into that process was super fun. Doing it from making music from a little bit of a different place was kind of exciting. I like that.
Yeah, it gets you out of your comfort zone too. Like when you're used to writing, especially ambient music, it all generally has almost the same moods, that sleepy sort of nice just thing. And then all of a sudden you have to write an exciting, cue or track or like a sad one or a happy one. You learn a lot, especially at the start when doing it, right? And it's something that I'm still not good at. And I don't know if I ever will be, but it's fun anyways.
Yeah. I definitely find myself falling into the same mood and the same patterns. It's very easy.
Every time, yeah.
Every time, yeah. Yeah, definitely.
But it's good, though.
What's that?
Oh, sorry. I just said it's good, though. It's your style.
Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, it's not bad. Definitely not bad, but it is definitely something I notice. I'm like, here we go again with this little motif. Yeah, but I like it all. I think it's great.
For sure. I couldn't help but notice the Zelda tattoo on your hand.
I wanted to ask about those before we left too.
Yeah, my Zelda tattoo.
What made you get Zelda out of all things?
Funny enough, I would attribute some of my music, my interest in music, to Zelda. I had a babysitter when I was a kid who was super good at piano and would play the Zelda theme, and I was super into that theme. I thought it was the coolest thing ever, and he taught it to me, and that was the first song I played ever, and first song I learned. And it was maybe 6 to 8 years later when I actually played the game, but I knew the whole soundtrack and thought it was a really cool soundtrack. And then I played the game and was this is a great game, and the soundtrack is amazing. And so I've always been into playing some of the Zelda pieces. I used to I played a couple of the theme songs on piano for recitals and stuff, which is
sick.
funny. But yeah, it's always been part of my life musically. So I think that was part of the decision, and also just I don't know, not thinking super hard about it. Yeah, as you do.
Yeah, you seem like you have a lot of tattoos. Do you take a long time before you go and get one and really think about it? Or like you said, is it always kind of just on a whim? You have an emotional attachment to something, so you're I'll just get that.
I think it's been a long time since I've gotten a tattoo. I've very much slowed down. When I first started getting tattooed, I was immediately oh, I want so many tattoos. And definitely did not think about it very much. Now I'm kind of all right. And this part of my life is now past, and it feels a lot longer as a wait time, I guess. I haven't had any itch to get a tattoo recently, so we'll see if I continue to.
For sure.
Would you ever get your album art tattooed on you or something?
Maybe. I actually do have one of the first albums I ever released by myself. Through a different project, I have part of the album on me, but I don't know. I've thought about that. Maybe. I'm not sure.
Get the wander into illustration.
Yeah.
I did that.
That'd be cool.
That would actually be kind of cool.
Yeah.
That'd be super sick.
Yeah. Yeah. I never thought about that.
I mean, out of all the emblems you could get, Zelda's probably the sickest one. So
that is really cool.
It's a good choice there. You have a Zelda sort of, I don't know what you call it, remix ambient version, something like that, on your YouTube too, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was super fun to make. I think the modular pluck sounds are perfect for that. I think 100%. It's the fairy town theme.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's so sick. It's really good.
I want to do another Zelda one, I think, if I ever get around to making more YouTube videos and going through my list of back catalog, but yeah, it would be fun.
Well, I hope that you do, and I hope that you put all those videos that you have in your hard drive up, because people want to hear them, people want to see them.
Yeah, I know. Every time I post a video, people are like, "You're back." I'm like, I'm not going to be back after this.
I'm back, but not consistently.
not for long. But it's super sweet and honestly always surprising to me.
Yeah.
Yeah,
man. A lot of people know your stuff just from YouTube. It's crazy. Yeah. And even people that, you got a lot of people into modular and stuff. And I've spoken to some artists that are like, "Oh, I know Annie. He's the he's the YouTube guy." I'm like, "No, not really, but I guess so."
Yeah.
You know, you should hear his new album.
Yeah.
But
Yeah, it's funny. A lot of people at my shows will come up and be like, you like helped me make the jump into Modular. I'm like, oh man, I apologize to your wallet for that.
yeah,
But it's super. Yeah, it's really sweet. I don't often feel like I have that effect on people, but it's super nice to hear, and yeah.
yeah, man.
Usually, yeah.
Even though you don't really hear about it much, you know, it's crazy to think that the music you put out is inspiring people to make other music, or even just, you know, the soundtrack of somebody's week sometimes, you know.
Yeah.
It's crazy to
Yeah.
think about.
Yeah. Yeah, it is
Cool
cool to
though.
think about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah. Do you have any more questions for him?
No, I was just gonna say thank you so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thank you again,
Thanks for
man.
having me
Seriously.
on.
Thanks for listening to another episode of We All Speak in Poems, and a huge thank you to our guest today, Annie. We would appreciate it if you would go and listen to Annie's new album by Morning, and perhaps support it on Bandcamp. We'll be back with another episode in about 2 weeks, so we'll see you then.